Hi everyone. I am on my fourth day of breatharian transition, and it's been mind-blowing, mind-opening, expansive, and beautiful. So I want to share, I've been doing dry fast, and I've dry fasted before, but dry fasting the breatharian way is so much easier and better. So basically, doing prana exercises to feed my body and my energy system and my mind and my emotional body on light. And it really is satiating. I don't have a lot of hunger. I feel in alignment. I just feel a level of fulfillment that I've never had while fasting. And so just the combination of these is amazing. And I honestly feel like I'm being fed and connected and united with God. And it's a very intimate process, a very intimate connection that is happening. I've had, feels like my third eye is opening. I've had sacred geometry. It feels like informing me. This energy that is being cultivated is informing me with knowledge, with new knowledge. And it feels like a tapping into a universal energy and getting downloads of, the latest updates. And it's just so expansive. At one point, it was a little bit scary because it was all this new information coming in and just up vibing so much that there was a part of me that wanted to just kind of, whoa, let's slow down here. But it's absolutely beautiful. I've seen colors, I've felt vibrations in my body. It just really feels like a complete purification process and more light coming in, more unconditional love. So, there's detox symptoms that are happening. I felt detox of emotions. I spent one day just crying and releasing and purging emotionally. I've had shadow aspects come up to be looked at, to be accepted, and it's not easy when this happens. It's not easy to see things that we've been ashamed of coming up. But at the end of the day, through connecting with this energy of universal love and God, I could see that these parts coming back, I could see experientially on a very deep level that these parts coming back each had a power. And so, the controlling parts of me came up, and those had this power of bringing me into a sure place of self and a place of accepting what seems out of control. And there's power that came back with that. The part that felt like it was being left all alone and it was afraid to be lonely, that had this gift of really uniting with something bigger than what I've reached out for in the physical. So it really tapped me into a power of embracing that part that is afraid to feel lonely, and then in that realizing that there's never true loneliness when you're connected, and it just feels like coming back to self even more. So it's been an amazing process, and these detox and even, like the few hunger pains that came up, the thirst, it feels like there's something so much bigger that is happening here, that those things don't, trip me up. So I also want to talk a little about how dry fasting alone is very difficult, but it's so essential. And I'm just going to talk a little about this. I'll do another video in more detail, but basically our cells have water in them. They absorb it, for hydration. They absorb water, And then there's no way to clean that water out. So we have little swamps in our cells. And if you think about a swamp versus running river water, what does it attract? What does it collect? The first thing you think is mosquitoes, bacteria, like just, nasty stuff. And so our cells are doing exactly that. It's little swamps attracting bacteria, attracting parasites, attracting just sludge. And no other fasting besides dry fasting cleans this water out. And two things happen in dry fasting, and I'll go into more detail, but this is the basic level that really makes you go, oh, that makes sense. So when we dry fast, we're taking away water and food from the body. And so at first it's waiting because it thinks it's going to get food, and then when it realizes it isn't, then it starts going to water sources in the body, because dry fasting, you're not doing water and you're not doing food. And so you're starving your cells, and you're starving the bacteria, and you're starving the parasites. And your water will go, your body will start to go to water sources inside the cells. And it'll start breaking apart the cells, which releases this dirty water. And then it will eventually start producing its own water, its own live water, which is way more beneficial than the water that we bring in externally, because the water we bring in externally sometimes has negative information in it. And when that old water is released and the cells start producing its own water, it's alive, and it doesn't have any of that negative programming or information in it. So it's just fresh, brand new, alive water that can actually go and heal our body for good. So getting rid of that old water, the only way that it can be cleaned out is, as far as fasting, is through dry fasting. And it just has so many benefits, and it can literally change you. And you can grow backwards at the cellular level on many levels. It has the capacity or capability to clean the blood and the lymph completely, and to clean the bacteria out of the intestines. When bears are hibernating, their intestinal bacteria gets cleaned out completely. They're basically going into a dry fast and hibernation resting mode. And studies have found that this happens during dry fasting in non-hibernating animals and people, and in hibernating animals. So it's really a powerful process, but it's definitely difficult. And I, through this process of breatharian transitioning, have found it just to be so powerful and so much easier. It really assists the body in healing and in connecting to something higher and bigger. And I truly believe that this is the new paradigm for consciousness, that we will get back to a simpler way of feeding on light and coming into a higher consciousness that we've not fully tapped into before. So there's so much more to talk about, but this is today's video. I'll keep you posted as far as my progress, and thank you for watching and joining my journey. Feel free to comment below, and join me on LishaMayer.com. I'm also going to be just doing more videos, or posts. I'm talking more about dry fasting and just continuing.